Hey gorgeous, it's Denise here from luckybitch.com. And you know what? We've all had this particular thing happen that we're talking about today. Maybe you're clearing blocks like a mofo, you're decluttering your life, you're making upgrades and manifesting like a pro, but then somebody says something negative that brings you crashing down. Now, it could be just a simple sentence, but the effect is huge on your self-confidence. And worse, it often comes from people the closest to you who should be really happy that you're creating success in your life. And sometimes these people have so many money blocks themselves that they just don't realize how negative they're being or how it affects you. So, what can you do when you're surrounded by negative people? Whew, let's talk about this one. Now, this is the most common question I get asked all the time for women in the Lucky Bee community. How do you create your ideal life and stay really positive when you're surrounded by people who are constantly negative about money? This could be your husband, your partner, your friend, your colleague, a family member, or even somebody random who shows up in your world occasionally and brings you down with their Debbie Downer energy. Now, this can be really, really difficult to make a big change and expand your world when there's someone, or maybe more than one, who feels like a major block to your success, especially if you have to deal with them all the time. It's a really big energy drainer. But here's the truth. If you want to continue creating a first-class life, you have to be prepared to upgrade the people around you. Now, do the people at the moment around you, do they reflect where you want your life to be? So you know that quote that goes, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with? Well, if your ratio of negative friends is too high, it's honestly time for an upgrade. Now, you don't have to stay friends with the same people forever. This is not high school, and your mum is not going to force you to be friends with them either. Because when you're starting out to change your life, you're really vulnerable to other people's opinions and negative energy. So you really have to protect yourself and have a little bubble. Now, that doesn't mean you have to cut people completely out of your life. I'm not saying be a bitch. But at crucial points, you might have to limit your exposure to their negativity. Now, over the last couple of years, I've had to do the same thing. I've had to cull some negative people from my life who just weren't making me feel good anymore. Or I had to limit my exposure to people, for example, who whine about their life but never change it. I realized it was way more fun to seek out new friends who could motivate and inspire me and me to them to be better people, and also it kept my energy high as well. This is the same concept. If you want to start maybe eating healthier, you have to introduce people into your life to kind of crowd out that negative influences. It's the same when you're on a diet. So how do you do it with people? Now, if you're feeling kind of vulnerable right now and you're at a place where your money mindset needs to be impeccable, just say no to hanging out with those people, especially if you're working on a launch right now or you're pushing through some resistance in your business. You can make excuses if you want, but your energy is way too important to waste on negative people who don't want you to succeed. You could also change the subject. So if it's a loved one and they start talking about negative stuff, just steer the conversation into other areas that don't trigger you. Now, this might sound really harsh, but if you're really serious about changing your life, this is what it's going to take, but it might not be forever. Some of your friends and family might even be motivated by you changing their life, and it's going to change them as well. But either way, it's important to protect your energy at all times, especially when you're feeling the most vulnerable. Maybe you're working towards a massive big goal right now, or maybe you're in the process of working on your money blocks, and that's when you need to protect yourself the most. Okay, so what about negative family members? Because you can't choose your family, right? And you can't necessarily get rid of them either. But you can choose how they affect you and how much time you spend with them, especially the negative ones. And then pick your battles. I know for me, discussing certain topics with my family used to cause me so much rage, and I thought I could, argue them into changing, but now I just change the subject. So choose those topics of conversation really, really carefully, because it gets easier with practice, but some things are just not worth getting triggered over. And remember, your family might not necessarily be the best audience to talk through some of your business challenges with. So keep those conversations for your coach or your mastermind buddies. Your Uncle Bob does not need to know all the ins and outs of your business. Now, what if you are living with a negative partner? Now, this sucks. It really does, especially when you're trying to change your life or upgrade your relationship with money. And honestly, it's probably one of the biggest problems that I see in the Lucky Bee community. But I have some good and some bad news for you. Now, the bad news is that your partner should never ever be your excuse and cannot be your excuse about why you're not living your ideal life, because you have to take responsibility for your thoughts and feelings about money, not theirs. Now, unless you want to completely declutter your relationship, which totally does happen sometimes, I would consider having a really honest discussion about their negativity and how it affects you, because they might not even be aware of how they talk about money. Now, my hubby used to have even just this way of saying money that was so loaded with poverty consciousness and fear and lack. And I kind of just said to him, look, are you on this prosperity train? Because I'm on it and I'm going with or without you. And it might sound really harsh, but it was kind of this necessary intervention where I had to tell him how I felt and how he was really impacting me with his negativity. Now, lastly, when you're dealing with any negative person, remember that you just can't change them. You can't. You can try and find the positive traits in them and you can practice your forgiveness, but you really cannot change them. You can only change yourself. So take note of what they're bringing up for you. Maybe their behavior is highlighting more money blocks for you that you need to clear, not them. But don't let anybody be your excuse for not living a first-class life. Be the role model and hold true to your vision. Keep clearing those money blocks and moving forward. Now, if you need my help to identify some of your own barriers to making money, make sure you check out my free audio that helps you clear your money blocks fast. You can get that free workshop at luckybitch.com/blocks, and I'll take you through 7 really common money blocks that I see all the time in all the female entrepreneurs in the Lucky Bee community. Again, that's luckybitch.com/blocks. Don't let anybody be your excuse about not living your first-class life, because it's your time and you're ready for the next step.